Michael Carter had built his company from the ground up. Carter Enterprises wasn't just a business, it was his legacy. He had poured decades of his life into transforming it from a small startup into an industry titan. Every late night, every sacrifice, every deal, he had done it all to secure the company's future. After months away on an overseas expansion project, Michael decided to return unannounced. He wanted to see the team in action, feel the energy of the company he had worked so hard to build. But more than that, something had been gnawing at him. Emails had gone unanswered, financial reports were missing, and the few calls he had managed to get through had been strangely brief. Something felt off. As his private driver pulled up to the towering Carter Enterprises headquarters, Michael felt a pang of pride. The sleek, glass-covered skyscraper reflected the afternoon sun, a symbol of everything he had achieved. He stepped out, adjusting the cuffs of his tailored suit, and walked through the grand entrance. The receptionist barely looked up, her attention fixed on her computer screen. Usually his unexpected arrivals caused a stir. He gave her a nod and continued toward the elevators, his polished shoes clicking against the marble floor. On the way to his office, hushed voices drifted from the conference room. Michael paused. He knew that voice. "He has no idea what's really going on," someone said. It was Daniel Gray, his CFO. "If he finds out, we're all screwed." Michael's breath hitched. His heartbeat drummed in his ears as he took a step closer, careful to stay out of sight. Another voice chimed in, Lisa Harper, the head of operations. "We need to move fast. The investors are getting impatient," she said, her tone low and urgent. "Once we finalize the transition, Carter Enterprises will no longer be his." Michael's stomach twisted. Coup. His own executives plotting to take his company from him? His mind raced. Who else was involved? What was their endgame? Steadying himself, he peered through the narrow gap in the door. Inside, Daniel and Lisa sat at the sleek glass conference table, papers spread out in front of them. The expressions on their faces were cold, calculating. These were people he had trusted for years, people he had mentored. And now they were betraying him. Lisa exhaled sharply. "And you're sure he won't catch on before it's too late?" Daniel smirked. "He's been so focused on expansion that he hasn't seen what's right under his nose." Michael clenched his fists. The air around him felt heavier, the walls of his own company suddenly foreign. Every instinct screamed at him to burst into the room to demand answers. But he held himself back. This was bigger than a simple betrayal. This was an orchestrated takeover. If he confronted them now, they'd cover their tracks. He needed proof. His fingers itched to pull out his phone and record the conversation, but he couldn't risk being seen. Instead, he took a deep breath and backed away, his mind already forming a plan. He would play their game, stay one step ahead. If they thought he was blind to their betrayal, they had underestimated him. He turned toward his office, but before he could take another step, another voice stopped him in his tracks. A voice he never expected. "We need to be careful," the voice said. "Michael isn't as clueless as you think." Michael's blood ran cold. That voice belonged to someone much closer. Someone he had trusted beyond measure. The voice of his own brother. Michael's mind reeled as he tried to process the revelation. His brother, Ethan Carter, was in on this? Ethan had never shown much interest in the company, preferring his life of luxury funded by Michael's success. But now he was part of a conspiracy to rip it all away? Forcing himself to remain calm, Michael leaned in again, straining to catch every word. "We need to be sure everything is airtight before we make the final move," Ethan said. "Michael can't have even the slightest suspicion. If he does, it all falls apart." Lisa sighed. "Agreed. We've worked too hard for too long to have this blow up now. We need the documents signed and processed by the end of the week." Daniel lowered his voice. "And if he does find out?" There was a pause. A heavy, calculated silence. "We take care of it," Ethan said coldly. "Permanently." Michael's pulse thundered in his ears. This wasn't just corporate betrayal, this was a threat to his life. His own brother, his closest allies, were discussing how to remove him like an obstacle in their way. He had heard enough. He needed to act, but he couldn't be reckless. If they knew he had overheard them, they might accelerate their plans. Taking slow, measured steps, he moved away from the door and made his way toward his office. He entered, locking the door behind him. His hands trembled as he reached for his desk phone, but he stopped himself. Calling security wasn't an option. If his inner circle was compromised, who else could he trust? He had to be smart. He needed proof, something undeniable that would expose them all. His laptop was still connected to the company's surveillance system. If he could access the meeting room cameras, he might be able to retrieve the conversation. He powered up his computer, fingers flying across the keyboard as he bypassed the standard security protocols. Years of paranoia had paid off. He had always ensured he had a backdoor into the system just in case. The screen loaded the security feed, but what he saw next made his blood turn to ice. The feed was blank. The cameras had been disabled. A sharp knock on the door made him jump. His heart pounded as he turned toward the sound. A shadow loomed beneath the door. "Michael." It was Ethan's voice. "I heard you were back. We need to talk." Michael swallowed hard, his mind racing. Did they already know he had been listening? Were they planning to make their move now? His eyes darted to the desk drawer where he kept an emergency burner phone. He had to think fast. Let them in and play along? Or find another way out? The doorknob twisted. Michael held his breath. Michael had seconds to decide. He could feel the weight of betrayal pressing down on him, but he wasn't going down without a fight. He needed to outplay them at their own game. The door creaked open and Ethan stepped inside, his expression unreadable. "Michael," he said smoothly, "we need to discuss the future of Carter Enterprises." Michael forced a calm smile, hiding the fury beneath. "Yes," he said, locking eyes with his brother. "Let's talk." Ethan stepped further into the office, closing the door behind him. Michael watched him carefully, noting the way his brother's hands remained casually in his pockets, but his eyes held a sharp, assessing glint. "Unexpected visit?" Ethan said, feigning nonchalance. "You should have told me you were coming. We could have arranged a welcome." Michael smirked. "I prefer surprises. They reveal people's true intentions." Ethan's jaw tensed, but he recovered quickly. "Is that so?" Michael leaned back in his chair. "Why don't you tell me what's really going on, Ethan?" Ethan's lips curled into a slow, calculating smile. "You already know, don't you?" Michael met his gaze. "I know enough." Ethan exhaled, then took a step closer. "Then you know this is bigger than just you." Michael's pulse quickened. "Enlighten me." Ethan leaned in. "You were never meant to come back, Michael." Michael took a slow, steady breath, forcing his face into a mask of neutrality as he opened the door. Ethan stood there, hands in his pockets, a forced smile on his lips. "Surprised to see me?" Michael asked, keeping his voice even. Ethan gave a small chuckle, stepping inside. "You could say that. You didn't tell anyone you were coming back today." Michael shrugged. "I like surprises." Ethan's smile faltered for a split second. "We need to talk." Michael gestured to the chair across from his desk. "Go ahead." Ethan sat, leaning forward. "Michael, things have changed while you've been gone." Michael's grip tightened on the armrest. "I noticed." Ethan's eyes flickered with something unreadable. "Then you know why this conversation is important." Michael leaned forward, meeting his brother's gaze. "Why don't you tell me?" Ethan exhaled sharply, glancing at the locked door. "Because if you don't make the right choice, you won't leave this office alive." As the door creaked open, Michael forced himself to remain calm. Ethan stepped inside, his expression unreadable. "You look tense, brother," Ethan said smoothly, shutting the door behind him. "Is there something you'd like to tell me?" Michael's fingers hovered near the burner phone in his desk drawer, but he didn't reach for it yet. He needed to stay one step ahead. Ethan's gaze flickered toward the laptop. "You didn't see anything, did you?" Michael met his brother's eyes, masking his fury with a cool smile. "Should I have?" Ethan's lips curled into a slow smirk. "Good." He took a step closer. "Because if you did, we wouldn't be having this conversation." The room felt smaller. The walls closed in. Michael knew in that moment that Ethan wasn't just issuing a warning. It was a promise. He knew he had one chance to turn the tables. He wasn't just going to fight back, he was going to expose them all. Ethan stepped closer, his smile forced. "We have some things to discuss, brother." Michael exhaled, his voice even. "You're right. We do." He pressed a button under his desk. The office doors locked automatically. Surveillance cameras, his own private backups, separate from the company's system, activated. Every word, every confession would be recorded. Ethan's smirk faded. "What are you doing, Michael?" Michael leaned forward. "Just making sure you all get what you deserve." The game had changed. And Michael? He was about to take back everything they tried to steal. Ethan wasn't just betraying Michael for power, he was hiding something even darker. Over the past year, he had been laundering money through Carter Enterprises, using shell companies to cover his tracks. The missing financial reports Michael had noticed weren't errors, they were deliberate fabrications. Investors weren't just losing confidence, they were unknowingly funding criminal activities. If Michael exposed Ethan, it wouldn't just cost him the company, it would send him to prison. And Ethan was willing to do anything to keep his secret buried. Now, as the doorknob turned, Michael realized he wasn't just fighting for his company. He was fighting for his life. As Michael's mind raced, a realization hit him. This wasn't just about money. The missing funds weren't just being siphoned into offshore accounts. They were linked to something much darker. Whatever it was, Ethan wasn't just committing fraud, he was entangled in something that could destroy lives. Michael's grip tightened around the burner phone. This wasn't just corporate betrayal. This was a matter of life and death. The doorknob stopped turning. Then silence. A single envelope slid under the door. Inside was a note. "We know." Michael thought he had built an empire on loyalty and trust. But in the ruthless world of power and deception, even blood could turn against you. Now, with his company on the brink of collapse and his own life in danger, one question remains: will he outplay his enemies, or will this be the end of everything he worked for? If you were in Michael's shoes, what would you do? Let us know in the comments below. And if you love gripping stories of betrayal and high-stakes power struggles, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. More shocking true crime stories are coming your way. Betrayed by those he trusted most, Michael now stands at the edge of a dangerous game, one that could cost him everything. With enemies closing in and his own life on the line, will he outsmart the conspirators and reclaim his empire, or will the shadows of deception consume him? The truth is out, but the battle is just beginning. If you're hooked on high-stakes betrayals and gripping true crime stories, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. More shocking revelations are coming soon. Hit like if you love gripping mysteries, subscribe for more thrilling true crime stories, and comment your thoughts. What should Michael do next?